Now, second chapter is types of hardware and types of hardware. What is computer hardware? As the name is hardware physical component of a computer system which we can touch, feel and see. That is hardware of a computer system. So what are the different physical components of a computer system? Different physical components of a computer systems are hard disk drive, then keyboard, mouse, printer, scanner, memory, CPU. All of these are types of hardware. Now, what is memory? So memory are of two types, primary memory and secondary memory. Now when we talk about primary memory, that is main memory. Main memory is again the example of main memory is RAM and ROM. These two comes under main memory or primary memory, RAM and ROM. Now RAM, what is RAM? RAM is random access memory, which is randomly accessed by CPU. Means from anywhere it can access. CPU can access it from anywhere. So that is random access memory. And ROM, read only memory, which we can only read but we cannot write. Once instruction is stored in this memory, it will be there only unless and until we will not delete. Right? So both are main memory. Now, which type of data then RAM stores? RAM stores data of current running applications. RAM stores data of current running applications. Right. Suppose you opened MS Office, you opened game, media player to listen the audio, right, MP3 player, whatever. Then that time, whatever application you are using that is running on your computer, so where they are taking the data from? Where they are taking the data from? They all are taking the data from RAM. Now, how? For this, we need to understand the function of hard disk, RAM. Again, we need to see here how computer functions. Whenever you are opening any application, so first of all, when you how you run your program, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or any game applications, how you can be able to run on your program. First, you install your applications in your computer. Then, after installing, you just start, open it, right? So, when you install in your computer any applications, where that stores, that will be stored in secondary storage device, that is hard disk drive. It will be stored in hard disk drive. It stores in hard disk drive. Then from there only we open it, right? C drive, it saves the data. C program files or any C program file, C windows, it stores the data applications. From when we open the data, it open the data from there only. It what we assume, but what happened inside the computer, it first load all the applications in the RAM. Whatever you are opening after installing, when you install it, installs into hard disk drive. It stores into your CD drive, whatever you tell where to store. Then when you open, it open from that hard disk drive. But actually what you are seeing on your interface after opening your file, that is actually opening from the RAM only, right? How that is opening from RAM only? Because from hard disk drive it transfer all the data which are mandatory to run that application into RAM. It load all the data to the RAM first, and then whenever you are opening that applications, that is opening from that RAM only, right? Not from hard disk drive. Because as we have seen already, we have went through the topic that memory hierarchy, the memory which is far to the CPU is slower than memory which is nearer to the CPU. So RAM is near to the CPU, but hard disk is far to the CPU. So hard disk is slow in performance, but it stores large amount of data. So first it load the applications files into the RAM, as RAM is near to the CPU as compared to hard disk drive. So It is convenient for computer also to give us the data from the RAM. That is why whatever applications you are running, that is running from the RAM only. First it loads into the RAM. That is why it takes time first when you are starting. If your computer is of normal speed, then it takes time to run the application first time. Right, so that time it loads the application into RAM, and then when it opens the application, that is coming from the RAM only. Right, so this is what the functions of the RAM. It stores the current running data of current running application. RAM stores the data of current running applications. Now come to the next point, that is ROM, read-only memory. Read-only memory, ROM is read-only memory. It stores the instructions which start the computer. Now RAM is volatile by nature. Volatile by nature means it is temporary by nature. That means whatever resides inside the RAM, when power is switched off, if you will shut down the computer or if power is switched off, it will be erased out automatically. And ROM, whatever contents reside inside the ROM, that will be there only. Unless and until we will not delete the data. And who can delete the data? The programmer. Right. Software engineers, they can only delete the data when they reprogram. They want to reprogram the ROM, then they can erase the data and then reload the program. But we cannot delete the data. It will reside in the ROM only unless and until we will not delete the data. That is ROM. And what ROM contains? It contains the startup instructions for the computer, so through which computer starts. So bootable instructions to boot the computer. Instructions, it stores the instruction to boot the computer. Whenever you switch on the computer, it starts turning on, then it shows you Windows logo or black screen and then something written on the screen. That is happening because of ROM only. That time, that is booting process actually. Computer is booting. Just like we just take the boot, put the boot in our leg and go outside. That is what happened there also. Computer is preparing itself to run. So the instructions which prepare the computer to run, that is stored in ROM, read-only memory. Then is what are the difference between RAM and ROM. But before that, we will go through one more topic, that is limitations of RAM. So what are the limitations of RAM? That limited storage capacity, volatile by nature. These two are limitation of RAM. Limitation of RAM is limited storage capacity. The storage capacity of RAM is limited, 32 GB or 64 GB, 8 GB, 4 GB, limited as compared to hard disk drive, secondary storage device. And the second is it is volatile by nature, as we have already discussed that what is volatile. Whatever data resides inside the RAM, that will be erased out when we switch off the computer. Then is difference between RAM and ROM. So what are the difference between RAM and ROM? So I will just give you notes about the difference between RAM and ROM and then explain you. Just go through it, see it. Now, difference between RAM and ROM. Just see here. Now here the difference between RAM and ROM. First point is RAM is known as random access memory, whereas ROM is known as read-only memory. Second is RAM is accessed randomly by the CPU. At any time, in any order in sequence, and it stores the instructions which boots the computer. Then RAM contents can easily be changed by the CPU only during functioning. RAM contents can be changed, but ROM contents cannot be easily changed or altered. Then is RAM allows the computer to read data quickly to run applications. As I told you before, that first the data is stored inside the RAM. The data of current running applications stored in the RAM first. So it allows the computer to read data quickly. So it allows the computer to read data quickly to run applications. And ROM help computer to run by the help of bootable instructions. By the help of instructions which by the help of bootable instructions. Then is it allows reading and writing both, but it only allows reading. It is volatile by nature and it is non-volatile by nature. I already told you about volatile and non-volatile. Volatile is, that means, which is temporary by nature. That means when you switched off the computer, the data inside that memory erased out. But here ROM is non-volatile by nature. The data which is stored in ROM will remain over there when we turn off the computer also. Then RAM is larger than ROM, but RAM is larger than ROM and store data in GBs, but that ROM is smaller than RAM and it contains that amount of data which can hold basic instructions in MBs only. The size of ROM is in MBs only. And then is RAM are faster than ROM and ROM is slower as compared to RAM. So these are the basic difference of RAM and ROM. So make the notes of it. Please make the notes of it in your copy. Then come to one more point, that what is firmware? What is firmware? So here the definition is written that what is firmware? It is a small programs. Firmware are small programs which is stored in ROM, right, through which computer can perform basics operations. So here it is, the definition is small programs called firmware are often stored in ROM and they contain instructions the computer can use in performing some of the most basic operations required to operate hardware devices. That means to operate the hardware devices, firmware are small programs which stores the instructions. Firmware are small programs which is stored in ROM. The small instruction which is stored in ROM are firmware which carry out the operations to run the hardware of the system. Right, different hardware devices which operates. So this also firmware, make the notes of it. So this much is on this for today. Take care.